Hola, ¿cómo estás? To the law of one. Welcome. I'm Robert, your humble messenger and narrator, and it's my pleasure to bring to you conscious channeling of LL research. The question today has to do with why human beings in the third density, especially here on Earth, seem to be so warlike. In this particular solar system, we have had the experience of Mars, which was apparently so warlike that they destroyed their atmosphere. Maldek exploded its planet. Now what you find there is the asteroid belt. Earth has had thousands of years of war. We are wondering what it is about the third density that seems to lend itself to entities in it moving in the direction of warlike actions. Is it the nature of our consciousness interacting in social groups? Is it our free will choice? Is it our opposable thumb? Our ability to make and use tools, and therefore weapons? We would appreciate anything QO could tell us about what it is that gives us this propensity for war and what it is we need to do as individuals, groups, and nations to move in the direction of cooperation and working together instead of against each other. We are those known to you as the principle of the QO, and we greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator, in whose service we come to you. We thank you for coming together to seek the truth and for joining in the circle of seeking. We thank you for calling for us, for we are greatly appreciative of the opportunity to share our thoughts with you. We ask only that you use your discrimination in listening to our words, and set aside any words that trouble you, for we would not be a stumbling block, but rather a resource for your seeking. We ask you to trust your discrimination and no outside authority, for you know what is comfortable and what is good within for you, and you may trust that instinct within you. The question that you ask this day is an interesting one in which there is indeed a great deal to say, but not as concise and crystalline a pattern as in some matters. The courses of war within third density in one way are unified into one cause, and in another way there are threads of cause. It simply depends upon the level at which you wish to attack the question. We will start with the threads, we think, because perhaps that is more where each of your minds are at this time. One thread, having to do with third density and war, is the nature of the physical vehicle which you as a species enjoy, and which others upon other planets have somewhat closely approximated in the sense of the basic structure of the 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, 1 torso makeup of the body. When you gaze at the instincts of the stock from which your species developed, you may see that your instincts, those deep-seated predilections for response in certain situations, are those of a territorial animal. Your great apes occupy a certain area in which they are upon their home territory for hunting food and protecting their source of water. The nature of the species is such that for the most part entities remain within various small groupings, each with its own territory, and with each territory being allowed its own way in what this instrument would call a laissez-faire structure, each group being independent from each other group, no attempts being made to work together in larger groups. This is the instinct basis which feeds into the mind's working, for a portion of the mind is involved with prioritizing messages from the body which have a tag which says urgent. Therefore, even though these instincts are unthinking, they represent a substantial bias that prejudices third density entities in the direction of what is perceived as their territory or their possessions. If you will gaze upon the tangle of reasons surrounding your bellicose actions, you will find that territorial considerations almost always play a significant role. This is the energy of red ray, of survival being expressed. When the territory is threatened, the territory must be defended. When other territory is seen as necessary, and it must be gotten, then aggression is considered reasonable. This remains a substantial portion of the reason for war in third density. Another thread of this tapestry of third density situations and areas of conflict is the nature of the third density mind. This third density mind, without the benefit of the consciousness that is you as an eternal being, is a choice maker mind. It is designed to make one choice after another. It assumes, as a way of working, that there is always a right choice and, therefore, sees the process of living as a sequence of choices. Faced with a situation, the third density mind will attempt to solve the situation, not necessarily to appreciate it, to understand it, to analyze it, or to plumb its subtleties. The first mental reflex is to solve it, to make it go away. The tendency to see black and white, yes and no, feeds into that ability to be belligerent, which is indeed a hallmark of your density. The very nature of the mind is such that it tends to suggest to the most rational thinker that decisions must be made, that plans must be made, that all must be chosen and then whipped into order along the lines of choice. Another thread that moves into the war-making ability of humankind, and all of third density in general, is, as the one known as Jim suggested, the challenge of working with groups. The great question in any group is, what is the character of that group? A group shows its character as it chooses its leaders. Those who attempt to be leaders within large groups tend to have personality structures in which the use of aggression seems fair, the use of influence just, the use of all advantages necessary. The tendency, therefore, is for leadership not to be as idealistic as the spoken ideal philosophy that is given respect in polite company, while at the same time, as the one known as Jim pointed out, ignores those same ideas when it comes to be of some advantage. All of these threads feed into the situation where entities feeling threatened respond to their insecurity by aggression. You may see the fight for territory, you may see the greed for advantage, influence, and power. You may see the tendency to do something as opposed to resting and gathering for extended periods of time. That impatience of leadership, that impulsivity. And a final threat that we would mention is that tendency of the stronger to bully the weaker. And by this we mean to indicate not nation against nation, but rather, as the one known as C pointed out, male against female. One kind of energy over against its dynamic opposite, instead of coming into cooperation with that dynamic opposite. We have found that in populations of third density, entities who have chosen to seek the face of the creator in a feminine face, the values of the culture include far less impulsivity and far more kindness than in cultures dominated by a creator who is seen as a powerful male figure. The tendency to find positions of power held by male entities, the tendency of the very workings of the law, and certainly the traditional underpinnings of your cultures upon your earth at this time favor the values of strength, power, and force, the virtues of a strong male figure. The very roots of your thinking, shall we say, from childhood have been saturated with testosterone-rich, heroic deeds. This entity has a fondness for reading, and we find in this entity's mind many a story which involves the waving of the sword, the brandishing of the firearm, the assumption that weaponry and armament are natural concomitants of policy. And indeed, we do not disparage war in and of itself. It is part of the almost inevitable confusion of third density. We do not suggest strict ways of thinking about conflict, for a cause can be made for war as a game, as an excellent game, rich in glory and honor. Like many other things which from a wider point of view seem insane, going to war is a part of the expression of third density, as most third density planets experience the density. Beyond all of these reasons, the heart of war and the heart of the reason for war in third density is the nature of love. All things that you experience come to you as distortions of love. There is no other substance but love from which to draw life. So all of life, including murder, pillage, and rape, is act after act of love. Love distorted. Love blocked. Love asked to go where it would not go. Nevertheless, no matter how many times the stalk seems to be hybridized and ruined, the basic rootstock of all experience is love. Third density is a very focused, very intense density, the density of choice. The choice is not between love and hate. The choice is between two ways of seeking love, loving others as a way of choosing to love, or loving the self as a way of choosing love. Needless to say, the service to others path is not a warlike path. It is allegedly service to self entities that would move themselves into fighting against their own kind. And yet the struggle to see clearly the roots of love within the self is a tremendous one. As the one known as Jim has said, it is not that anyone knows not how to love. There are many examples of unconditional love. There are very simple words to indicate the qualities of forgiveness, compassion, and love. However, all these words are only within the mind until an energetic attempt begins to be made to translate these ideas into that which can be manifested in physical life. So the question becomes, what is each seeker's response to the call of love? And this is not a simple thing. It is easy for us to ask each to go into meditation each day and seek the silence. The answers are there within the silence, not within our words. However, when it comes to attempting to step into your shoes as third density entities, we find that we are simply glad that each of you has the energy and the will for this great task of seeing the truth amidst the confusion. Love calls powerfully and pulls each entity forward. Third density is carefully designed to pull entities forward according to their desires and their thirst. The challenge of selfhood is to find out what you truly desire. What shall you desire? Truth? Love? Peace? Where is the substance to those words? Where is the reality beneath your feet? What is your understanding of your journey? If you understand that you are here to pursue spiritual evolution, that you are here to answer the call of love, then you will want to shape your questions to the infinite creator in such a way that you are seeking your own essence and the essence of love itself. It is thought by some that if people would stop shooting at each other, that we would have peace. And yet we say to you that is not as simple as that. For as the one known as C said, if one stops doing that, then what does one do instead? At least, aggression against a certain and very specific nation-state or group of entities is a limited and achievable battle, and at the end of it, one can say such and such has been achieved. And now there is peace. And yet we say to you, like love itself, peace is beyond all condition. Peace does not originate within conditions. Peace is a quality that is waiting for each third density entity to take it and claim it as his or her own, his or her very own, a wonderful, blessed possession. Yet, how many entities truly seek the peace within their own hearts, which comes from stopping the striving and encouraging the resting in what is? How many entities truly embrace peace, if peace involves releasing many other things which are dear? The one known as Jesus answered the man who said, I follow all of the commandments, what else shall I do to enter the kingdom of heaven? By suggesting that he sell all that he had and give the money that he received to the poor. And the young man went away very unhappy because he did not wish to do this, even if it meant entering the kingdom of heaven. Pride, vanity, the need to be better than someone else, all of these things are energies within the human heart that are natural to be instinctual, second density body and third density brain. Yet you as a consciousness, as an eternal being, are resting within these biases for an incarnational experience in which you are attempting to follow the inexorable pressure of seeking for the truth. And your question each day to yourself is always the same. Where in this moment is the love? Where in this moment is the Creator? So we do not suggest that it is an evil thing to go to war in and of itself. We do suggest that it is not a productive way to seek spiritually compared to the ways of peace. Yet in many ways your third density will express conflict because that is the basic nature of people who see themselves as separate from and over against others. This is a part of the catalyst of third density. It is a part of the hard lessons of love. And indeed it does move through not just third density but also to some extent fourth density, for there are those within fourth density who choose to continue as children of light or as children of darkness, and continue the clash of polarities. As fourth density wears on, This great love of being a warrior begins to evaporate, as love is better learned. Each has had crystalline, shining moments in their life when love has become real, not just a word, not just a concept, but amazingly, vividly, powerfully real. Think about those times and the gift that those times have given you. Allow the consciousness that filled you at those moments to come back to you, just to remember how it feels. We encourage each to ponder deeply her or his own essence and the nature of your heart. The heart of one entity and the heart of the world upon which you live are the microcosm and the macrocosm of the same thing. And actually, each of you is of a higher order than the world itself. As you choose to seek, to think, and to act, so shall the reflections manifest in the macrocosm that is your globe. Work with the essence of self to find ways to choose not to promote conflict, ways to express the truths that do not do damage to those who think differently. But above all, seek that presence within that is as the ray of light, that is a fuller light, a light that blesses the darkness, a light that is not afraid. Open the self to that gentle, lambent flame that is the presence of the infinite creator. Let that light take up and enlarge its home within your heart as you seek the ways of peace within yourself. As you find ways to solve conflict within yourself, you are learning a little bit more for the planetary mind. There is a fairly quickly growing group of those who are attempting to speak peace upon your planet, not in ways of public policy, but in ways of working within to become beings of peace. We see this body of energy enlarging upon your planet, and we feel very hopeful that, against all of the apparent news to the contrary in your Earth world, the lessons of love and more being seen, sometimes for the first time. Entities are awakening and doing some of this inner choosing of essence that we suggest. As more individuals' lives are transformed, so we believe, shall your planet be transformed. We would encourage each not to take to heart the appearance of things. It is said in your holy works that there will be wars and rumors of wars. There will be this, and there will be that, but the time is not yet, and we say to you that we believe this to be true. The true war for each of you is the struggle that the one, as Jim called, the jihad, the internal struggle of the pilgrim to discipline the earthly self in order to make of the earthly self a vessel for the spirit within. In this jihad, in this holy conflict, your choices are not clear, and yet there is always a light that shines from within. And so we ask you simply to seek that light, to seek the face of love. And when you see that sun shine radiantly, that is love, to learn from it and to offer yourself to it. For you too can be an agent of love within the confusion. You too can be a part of the eventual peace upon planet Earth. It begins with each individual seeker seeking the ideals within themselves that she or he hopes to see in the world. We would at this time transfer this contact to the one known as Jim, leaving this instrument with thanks and love and light. We are those known to you as QO. We transfer now.